my name is Loriana Armstrong, and I'm the managing director of Rekluta Group. We were established back in 2019 in Milwaukee. Once pandemic hit, just because of logistics of traveling back and forth to Puerto Rico, we decided to move our main office here to San Juan, Puerto Rico. So we've been here for about a year since we moved the office. And we saw, like everybody else, sort of a pause when COVID started, but then it went up again, maybe after 6 months. And that's why we decided to just move our office and work from here directly from Puerto Rico. Our niche, or our industries, main industries, are construction, engineering, education, social work, and we're expanding to manufacturing. We already have a few clients we're working with, mainly in the Midwest. So I work with companies in Minnesota, Michigan, Illinois, and Wisconsin. There's a few companies that kind of overlap. There's some other, Ohio, that they have different warehouses or manufacturing companies in other states, but mainly it's the Midwest that we work with. All my workforce it's coming from Puerto Rico. And so we do all the recruiting process from here, make sure that we place the right person, given that job description. We try to fit as precise as possible.
Good. No, that's great. Appreciate that. Just a little backdrop.
Yes.
So we're excited to, I think, learn more. And I don't know if you just want to start with your presentation, then I think we can. Sure. I think everybody will have some questions for you. So.
Sure. So if we want to go ahead with the first, that next slide.
Sure. Can everybody see the screen okay here?
Yes.
So I guess pretty much like we all mentioned, and Becky and Jessica, it's, the challenges right now, it's finding the talent. Everybody's facing that. And I think a lot of had to do with all the government economic help coming to a lot of people, not only in US. We get the same type of economic, I want to say, perks that US gets, because we are US citizens in Puerto Rico. So we at a point where they said, it's not, I don't want to work because I'm getting government help, and I'd rather stay home. Now that's decreasing, and that's going away. So everything is ramping up. They're looking for work. They want to go back. But I've always, even in that time, we managed to find talent to fill positions. So the way that, can you switch to the next?
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure.
So our recruiting process, it's kind of, we look at, thank you, qualifications of the candidates, the skill set. But before that, when we sit down with a client, we ask about the job description, like what kind of job are they going to be performing? How's the contract, like any benefits included, vacations, pay, and we we take that step and we figure out if we're going to be able to find that candidate for you. We also, we looked at housing and transportation. That's one of the things that we go over on the recruiting process. And one of those things are what you can expect from us would be, we do all the sourcing. We put candidates in front of you already with skill sets you're looking for. And the company, the person in charge of HR or supervisor or a foreman or and whomever is taking that final decision, will put those candidates in front of you and you make the final call on who you want to hire. You can either do that by doing a virtual interview, or you can assign someone to travel to Puerto Rico and we'll arrange a day of just interviews. And you can have someone come in here. We'll take care of organizing a day or two if possible. I've had, days of 1, 2, or 3 days where we're just, we'll have all those candidates in front of you and you'll be making those final decisions. Once you make the candidates, you feel like you found the candidates that you would like to hire, we'll move to the next step, which would that be making sure if you decided to have that candidate have a background check or drug test or COVID test. So we'll take care of that. Then we come back and then we'll make sure those candidates are ready to go with all that requirements before leaving Puerto Rico. If you require for them to have a driver's license, we'll make sure that those candidates have those right before you go. They will go with all those requirements. Another thing that we do, some of the clients like to have some onboarding done in Puerto Rico, even before they go. So we'll take a little bit of that HR step and we'll do some onboarding with the employees as well, like signing a contract or go over company policies even before they go. Another thing that we do on our recruiting process, it's that we like to sit with the client and start having a conversation of housing and the expectations of all the candidates when they go. So it's a lot easier for me to put our team to start working on the job placement. Can you go to the next slide?
Sure.
So the type of candidates that we recruit, depending on the industry that they're going, it varies, but this candidate will, I want to say 75% of the times it's going to have their driver's license. They're going to have, for sure, they're going to be graduated from high school. So a high school graduate, possibly some are going to be bilingual. At least 50% of them are going to be bilingual, where they can get by in a conversation, they can read it and write it. Some are going to have ready a resume, not all of them. Especially manufacturing, construction, they don't have any type of resume or any of that. Some, just about 50% would have something like that. Rekluta Group does direct hire service. We are not a temp agency. So it's all direct hire or seasonal. So when I mean seasonal, it's, let's say there's companies, especially construction, where during winter months, it's a slow season. They don't do any type of work outdoors. So those those employees are coming back to Puerto Rico, spending 2, maybe 3 months here. They don't pay that employee for those 2 or 3 months. They collect unemployment, then come back the construction season, and then they go back to the same company. So they like that format of coming back for the winter months. Or we do where it's just direct hire, and then you hire the employee, and it's your employee. We just charge a percentage of their yearly salary. And we take in consideration the amount of candidates that you would like to hire, the job description, the pay, and it's all customized. We don't have a set percentage. We the amount, when I said length of stay and hours they want to work, that's something that the candidates usually ask. Let's say when I'm doing interviews, one of the things that I get, it's like, how many hours are we gonna work? And is it an 8-hour workday? Are we gonna do overtime? So they want to come and work and make money. So they're very eager to know, are we gonna work overtime? Is there work available? They don't want to come and work, 2 months, and then after those 2 months, they're laid off, or because there's not enough work or that type of thing. And we ask payment structure, so we know that, or they want to know the payment structure. Is it we get paid weekly, bi-weekly? Is it direct deposit? So all those questions we ask, so we can kind of communicate that to the candidates. And um, when we are doing this sourcing, there's going to be questions that we might not have offhand, and we go back to that HR person that's going to be working. It's going to team with us, and so we can get those answers right away to them. Because sometimes something that you would think it's just basic, it's very important for them for some reason, and it depends. These recruits are usually single. Some might have, family back home. And if they do, they would ask, those are the ones that are gonna think about, they're very anxious knowing the area, schools. Can I bring my wife in within 3 months or so? Or my kids? So, but that's the percentage. I want to say it's about 80-20. So 80% is the one that's usually single. 20% might be the ones that are married or have family, or thinking, moving their family once they're established. Can we go to the next slide? So logistics, how do we get candidates or employees from Puerto Rico to, let's say, Wisconsin? So we coordinate that one-way ticket, like a ticket or airplane would be about $250 one-way ticket from San Juan to Milwaukee. We try to send them in groups, because that usually it's a lot smoother. They don't feel, some of them are traveling for the first time. They never been in an airplane. They're all scared. They don't know where they're going. So if we can send them in a group of, I don't know, 4 or 5, they've traveled 10, depends on the company and the group size. So some of the companies pay for the one-way ticket, or other companies decide the candidate will pay for their one-way ticket and they get reimbursed within 30 days. We would sit down with them, we'll get the ticket, we'll organize all that, arrange all the travel details. We'll take with each of those candidates to make sure that they purchase their ticket, they're ready to go. We make sure there's one of our team at the airport. Sometimes we travel with them if it's an area that we are not very familiar with. One of our team will travel with the group. Once they get there, we want to work with the client and see where do we want to, like, who's picking them up. Do we have a bus or some type of transportation, coordinate that transportation to a hotel, nearby hotel or housing? And we will have to work that ahead of time. So who's picking them up at what time, making sure all that is ready to go. Some clients like to they have housings already prepared for a group that's coming. It could be an apartment, it could be a house, it could be a duplex house, it could be, or they can just pay for a hotel for a month and that's all paid by the company. Then after that, each employee is responsible for their housing expenses. Can we go to the next slide? So average rent, we like to know if there's a housing that they're going to, and the company pays for the first months, and then they have to split the rent between a group of, I don't know, 4 or 5 guys. They want to know how much they're going to expect to pay. And then we would help with what kind of things, if you're thinking about finding a housing or a place or a house, what kind of things that they're going to need as far as when they come in, what appliances, bedding, or resources. We would work with each company depending on their budget, what is it that they're willing to do, or if it's just a hotel, then you don't have to worry about any of these resources for them. We as a company like to know the area. We like to put a resource list together for each candidate as far as where they can go for grocery shopping, where they can go to do laundry, or where they can go to change their driver's license. Where's the DMV closest to them where they can just go? They can take their driver's license from Puerto Rico and then just switch their driver's license in a DMV. That we recommend that the company, if they work with a specific bank, that a banker will come to the company, and maybe they get to open a bank account so they can get their check deposit. That would help them to get get an address there, or something like an evidence that they live there, so they can get their driver's license. They go together. So we put all these little things together for them, so when they arrive, they have a good idea of how they're gonna get by and start kind of be a little bit more independent. And that's, each company is different, each area. So that's something that we work with HR on, those details. But that's just to give you an idea of things that you can start thinking about, what kind of things will come up Next slide. So like I said, the talent here, it's mostly, the percentage of kids that graduate from high school is very high. Same thing, they teach English. They're not fluent because they're not speaking English on an everyday basis during the day or with their family or friends, but they know the basics. They would they would know how to get by. And so they're familiar with the terms, with a lot of the things are um, very similar to Puerto Rico when they go to the States. Next slide. And then a lot of the kids that graduate from high school, they go to college. And so there's a lot of you're gonna see candidates that apply for jobs, let's say manufacturing jobs, that they have a bachelor's degree. Because they can't find a job here and they're gonna be sometimes overqualified. And that's gonna be you're gonna see that when you start seeing candidates, because they go to college and the college, it's call it they are graduating. There's more students graduating than the actual jobs available in the island.
What types of positions, what types of jobs are these folks looking for? You say that they, that they have bachelor's degrees and they're having trouble finding employment in Puerto Rico. So what kind of jobs would they prefer to have?
Um, sometimes they're just open to listen to what's available.
Mm-hmm.
I have anywhere from engineering to criminal justice to wow, I hired someone that had a social working bachelor's and went to a construction company because of the, he was gonna get paid a lot more. Benefits were very good. So I think they're not specifically looking maybe in their like education background, related to their education background. They're more, they're willing to take opportunities and they're open. But
what type of opportunities are they typically gravitating towards? You've mentioned construction a couple of times and the pay.
yeah, because we get a lot of requests from construction companies.
I see.
And engineering, it's being very high demand in the United States, and they've increased their pay rate a ton to get more talent in the door. But I mean, I see, just to give you an example, if I hire a preschool teacher, she's coming with a master's degree, and some of them would have a doctorate degree. I've put, I put job fairs together, and I get, I'm looking for just preschool teachers, and I get people with a doctor's degree. So I guess it depends on the job and they're willing to go and take the opportunities and see where they can grow. They want to take opportunities and keep growing and experience other things out there.
Okay. And I don't know about the rest of the companies on the call, but what we struggle with the most are our entry level positions.
Mm-hmm.
And I certainly wouldn't want to, and I don't know if they would even be interested, but, bring somebody over that is, like you say, overqualified. Do you get any folks that are manufacturing, I say entry level, but entry level in manufacturing. Do you get any folks that are interested in those type of
Yes,
positions as well?
yes, they,
Unskilled kind
yes,
of, you know.
on skill where you would have to train, and so, yes, it would start from zero pretty much.
Mhm.
Right now, it's very competitive, in terms of pay, even though these are entry level. But let's say someone starting at $15, it's very hard for me to convince someone to go and get paid $15 an hour. Because they would have to kind of start, they're thinking about housing, they would have to pay for rent, find their own place, buy a car, kind of that start, and that will not work for them.
Mhm.
We're taking people that are starting at the minimum 18 and higher, $18 an hour
Okay, that's very helpful. Thank you.
across the board. Yes.
Yeah, and I would just say, Lauren, at least for the people that are on this call, we're definitely, very oriented toward manufacturing on this call, and, more the entry, but with hopefully prospects of advancing to doing, more potentially CNC and things like that.
Yes.
Higher level, but maybe starting out needing a lot of, that's where we really need a lot of help, would be more the entry level in manufacturing, but then.
And what would be, I have clients, in the manufacturing, and they're taking, no skills, and they will train that person. They're starting them at sort of $19 an hour. Is that something that's gonna be similar here?
That's a good question. I think it's a little high, but although I'm seeing that in some local ads and stuff, but I'd rather have maybe Becky and Jessica, or Robin and Amanda Mensch comment on that.
Yeah, this is Jessica. Are some of these individuals technically, I guess, or mechanically inclined? I would say that may not be out of the realm for those who we could train in more of a technical role. For
Right.
an entry level, I think that would be a bit high for us where we're currently at.
Okay. Some of them are coming with experience. There's a lot of pharmaceutical industry here is very common. So they have experience in manufacturing, but more in the pharmaceutical side.
Yeah, and I would
See.
let Robin chime in, but I would say, along with Jessica, that's probably a little bit on the high end for straight entry level. Although the entry level wages continue to go up every day, so maybe we're not far from that. But with mechanically inclined and ability to train on some of those pieces of equipment right away, and a lot of our companies, I think, have moved towards the very big signing bonus idea.
Oh, yeah.
And so the hourly wage may not be quite there yet, but the signing bonuses, at least around here, are continuing to increase rapidly as an effort to get people in the door. So make up a little bit of it that way.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to know.
I would also say that some of our employers, to add to Amanda's comments, are also really customizing it as well. So I think it would be more of a one-on-one relationship with some of the
Exactly.
employers.
Yeah. That's how I take it, kind of one-on-one, and customize everything. And I can be more realistic. This is what we, kind of put a plan together and see where can we meet so it works. Because our goal is to find you that right talent that's gonna work for your company. And maybe it's not $19 an hour, but maybe we can work, how about, I don't know, something like a perk within their benefits package, or something that would kind of be customized, and we can work with that when we do our marketing and in sourcing these candidates. I've worked with just one company signing bonus, and that's more for the higher positions, like more professional positions. But that's something that usually would be an amazing way of getting them interested.
Lorianne, I think Amanda had a question. Amanda, do you?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, just a quick question. Apologies if I missed this. So the $19 an hour or $18 an hour, do you know what the total cost would be then for an employer? Because there's a portion that goes back to your organization on top of that, correct? Like a percentage fee. And then if you're adding in, you know, housing and travel costs, do you have a sense for like
We
total
don't,
cost?
so let's say we don't, since we're not a temp agency, we won't charge you more than those $19. It's just a fee, a flat fee
Okay.
per that person. You know, we take that sort of round it up to a yearly salary, and we'll work with that HR person, and then give you a proposal on a flat fee on the amount of candidates that you're looking for. And then housing, it's very customized, you know, if it depends on the company. If the company wants to, you know, just get them, they would have to pay for their housing. Well, then that's how we would, you know, market that. You're not obligated to offer housing or transportation. That's just things that we work, and it's very helpful with the transition. And it, like I said, it's very customized in terms of what would you know, the company budget and what are they willing to put in to
Mhm.
bring these candidates.
You know,
Thank you.
jump in for a second here with a comment. You know, while it may sound a little bit high, you know, I'm wondering, you know, two things. One, it sounds like the workers want to work as much as they can, which I think Becky and Jessica might like to hear that. But, you know, so I'm thinking in cases where you have second and third shifts, and sometimes it's harder to find that, you know, maybe they would be willing to do that. But then, you know, I guess the second comment could be, since you're able to customize things in that, I think sometimes what I hear from the employers is, you know, they're not necessarily opposed to paying more for some things, but they want to know that if they're going to invest some time into training and that, you know, they're not going to lose them after a month or something. And so it sounds to me, and maybe you can just talk a little bit more about this, Loriana, but in your recruiting process and when you're really screening them, that you try to get candidates that you feel will be committed, you know, understand everything so there's no surprises, but then once they agree to it, they're pretty committed to kind of staying there and working hard to advance. Is that, I mean, I just, you know.
Yes, and they're very committed of doing this commitment pretty much, and they're thinking about, when I get those candidates, if they have family, they're worried, you know, when can I bring them, because they're looking to just move and stay there for you know, just to do a life type change. It's very drastic, so they're very serious about the decision of moving and starting there. We also offer a guarantee, 60-day guarantee, where if something would happen, like they don't show or they come back or something happens, they're not working out, we'll replace that employee for another one. So we are very confident on the workforce that we're sending.
Well, and that's great too. I'm glad you reminded the group of that, but I, because I think back and you had mentioned, obviously you can customize it however, but, it could be where they, get hired on for a little lower rate. Maybe it's 17 or 18, but, if they work hard, then potentially they get bumped up
Exactly.
after a certain period. And,
Mhm.
I think some of the manufacturers, if they see that, wow, they're really learning quickly and they're advancing, they may be willing to do that. Or even it could be a case where, after a year, things went really well, potentially they rebate a little bit on some of the housing cost as a bonus or something. So I think if, some of the employers, I don't know, I don't want to speak for them, but, might be willing to do some of those things essentially once the employee has proven that they're committed and they're advancing and stuff like that. How does that sound, Jessica or Becky? Is that something you're open to, or think that could play out in this type of scenario?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, with any employee, if they're showing, improvement, advancement, dedication, and then, giving some kind of a kickback or a bonus. I mean, this is a different circumstance. It's, we can't think of it in the same way that we always do.
Exactly.
Yep.
We have, like, we pay incentives for second and third shift employees. This could be an incentive for, for employees coming through your program or something. We could certainly set that up.
Right. And we can definitely, work with each company on that, kind of coming up with ideas and recommend a few things too. That's always helpful. And we'll start working on, we go from the job description all the way to those ideas. And then if the company feels comfortable and give it in a try, we'll get a proposal together. Then we move to, once a proposal, it's something that we agree on and the company agrees to, we'll move to a contract where everything is gonna be specified there as well. And we don't charge nothing up front. Everything is paid after, within 15 to 30 days after the candidates have been working, started since day one. So we are open to, work and just have conversations even, to find ways to help. We also place candidates from Milwaukee that are there, that are probably moving there, and they're looking for a job. So we're placing candidates that are already in Milwaukee, more in the with the Hispanic population as well.
That's
You
good.
know, are there specific jobs that those individuals are, I guess, leaning more towards?
They are looking for this is what they asked. They're looking for a full-time job. They're not being very specifics of, what type of job. They're looking, I need a job. I need benefits. I just don't want to work for a temp agency. That's what I get. Because that's pretty much the norm. Working for a temp agency, they just want to get something more, permanent.
Okay.
What does permanent mean? Because to me, permanent means, 5 years at least with our company, hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they're looking for, stability.
Would they potentially, if they found a good fit and they really enjoyed the company and the community, would they move their family here, or they're single people, so it doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter. No, it's usually the ones that are more lean to doing, when they're coming from Puerto Rico, they're single. But there's some that have family back home and they want to, they're like, they would ask me, when do you feel like and I can bring my family? I usually recommend for them to, you know, at least give it 6 months until they're actually more established. They have their own place, they feel good, and then they can bring their family.
Okay, that's good to know. Very good to know. Thank you.
Yes.
So one quick question for you, Loriana, before, and I think we only have 1 or 2 more slides, but we can open it up for other general questions. But you mentioned that you do have, it sounds like you have a network of potential candidates that are in Milwaukee right now.
Correct.
So is that something that you could start talking with, you know, Becky and Jessica and anyone else about and try to do some placements? Is that like immediate? Okay.
Yeah, definitely, because we're not talking about, you know, then we don't have to worry about housing and those other areas. It would be more of a simpler transition. And we can definitely talk kind of one-on-one on those, if that's something that you would be interested.
Definitely.
And my concern is that Milwaukee is probably about a 45-minute drive from Delavan. That's where I'm located. Jessica, I know you've got one facility here. So it might be a bit much for, you know, folks to want to drive out this far, unless
Right.
it is more of a
And
skilled
when
technical
I
position.
said, and when I said Milwaukee, I kind of just to give you an idea, some might live in Waukesha, some might live, you know, they're kind of spread out.
Yeah.
So it depends. That would be something that we put it out there and see where they can, if they have transportation, where do they live, that sort of things um, we would kind of source when we're doing our sourcing, we would look for.
Certainly. And I think probably the best, you know, next approach would be for us to give you a short bio on our companies, you know, where we're located, and then the positions that we have available, and, you know, description of those positions, the salary
Exactly.
ranges and all that.
Exactly, exactly.
Good.
So I'd like to eventually, if we come up with, you know, some relationship, business relationship, I like to, you know, come and visit and tour the facility. And because when I have a visual and I'm actually there, or one of our team is there, we can relate that information a lot better. If they're coming from Puerto Rico, I can tell them about, you know, this is where you're going to be doing, this is the culture of the company. I can it's a lot easier for us to translate that.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yes.
Robin, Amanda, do you have any questions on that or comments?
No, not so much a question, but I guess I would say that's, you know, also that, you know, individuals in the Milwaukee or greater Milwaukee area, I think is also interesting and intriguing to us in terms of ways that we may be able to connect them with additional employers as well. So
Yes. Like, you know, there was two candidates, to give you an example, that I contacted them here for position, and they knew about the company, they contacted us, and they were moving to Milwaukee first for whatever reason, because of family, and they were already in Milwaukee, and so I did the connection, and both of them are starting to work today. They were already in Milwaukee about a month ago. We made the connection here, they moved, and I said, once you're settled, then we are able to help you find a job. So there's those circumstances as well.
Question, how many individuals are you talking about that are currently in the Milwaukee market looking for positions?
Wow, I want to say there's a good 45 to 50 people that are in our database that are looking for positions in different areas. And they're probably working for a temp agency, like I mentioned already, but they don't like that kind of jumping from different jobs, or they're looking for a more permanent job.
Interesting. Well, that's great. And then, Loriana, just one other question along those lines, you know, in terms of, you know, kind of I guess the primary, you know, what we're interest here is actually, you know, certainly be great if we could connect some of the ones from Milwaukee that are in the region here to local employers, but then, you know, recruiting from specifically, you know, for specific companies and things from Puerto Rico. I mean, do you have a pretty big well to draw from, or I mean, you know, is it hard to drum up? Like, let's just say, you know, I don't know, Becky needs 5, and you know, Shenik needs 5, and Robin has 10 companies that need 5. You know, so you're talking
Right.
across
Right.
your, you know, 200 employees or something. Is that realistic, unrealistic? What, you know, what kind of a base do you draw
So
from?
we work with, you know, we'll give you each, like I said, we'll look at job description, and I always like to give the client a time frame of how we're gonna work this and how long it's gonna take. Could be anywhere from 3 weeks to a month, depending on the amount, a month and a half to get a group out. And we'll do them by kind of stages, not just bring like a whole bunch at a time, just to do them by, I don't know, group of 5s or something like that. And so we'll make very realistic time frame for the client, so they have an idea of when do we have the candidates. Yes. Does it take more time than it used to take? Yes. Because of we're dealing with COVID, we're dealing with other factors that were not present before, and it's taking longer than it used to. But we can definitely find the amounts.
No, that's helpful.
But like I said, you know, I'm here to help in any way I can, and we can work in kind of one-on-one basis with each company. Each company has different needs, different budget, different, you know, ways of doing things. So it's kind of hard to kind of put everything into one just specific ways of doing things, because everything is customizable, and we can negotiate any, you know, any work process that we do.